Hey guys, Sealfair. I'm just going to give a run through of the prop placement. So in the last few videos I've been steadily making progress getting props into the designer. So now I finally got to the fun part where I'm able to select the prop in the props tab and drop it into the map. So I'll just show that to you now. If I just zoom in on this and say, actually, you know what, there's a bit of land up here which is quite good I've been using for my testing. So yeah, imagine someone gets the map and they want to start putting some buildings and structures down. So you could say this looks like a nice little area for a base. It's even got a really nice little dirt track here that goes into it. So if the user goes, right, well, you click here on the right on the military building, and it is actually a building. And then if they move their mouse over to the screen, now they have it attached to them. Now this looks to where the mouse is, and it also does a test against the Battletech map metadata. So what is that? Right, that is basically telling you what the heights are for the map. And that's a combination of the actual terrain height, and it's also a combination of any buildings, or should I say, any obstructables that exist. So you can see these are ones that were loaded in on the game, say like this wall, and if I mouse over to it, you can see it snaps there. So right now buildings aren't confined to any grid, so you could have floating buildings if you wanted to, but you wouldn't be able to walk underneath them probably because of how the two-dimensional kind of pathfinding works. But anyway, so it's kind of cool, nice and easy to use, and then you just left click and you place it. If you're placing a building or a structure, it invalidates the metadata for the map, which I just mentioned, becomes stale. So, and what I mean by that is if I just put it down here, something like that for now. So it's like kind of nicely embedded into the mud. Makes it look like it's one of those embedded structures. Yeah, it invalidates the map metadata. So what that means is, for instance, if I try to place another building on top, you see it kind of goes through it. It's because the map metadata hasn't taken its height into account of the first building. So one way to do that would be to rebuild it. If you wanted to stack things, you could either place it down and manually just raise the height in it using the handles there, the different colored handles when you select a prop, or you could place it down, rebuild the map metadata, and now if I select it, you can notice it's actually there. So if I do one more time, so I mean it's just an easy way to make sure you got the right height on things. It's quite an expensive operation to do though, so the reason I've made it so the user can just kind of keep editing and not worry about having to pause every time they place something down. They can rebuild it when they want. So yeah, we don't, there's too many of those buildings, so let's get rid of those. We've got one there. Let's just put some, I mean this is kind of a useless building, it's a test building. It's actually one of the air conditioning units on top of one of the on the big buildings, but put that there. You can at the moment I've actually put some fine movement in. So here's a big building. We'll put it. Actually, the big building probably works better there. We'll move this one out of the way. Got some hotkeys for changing rotation and translation. So that works pretty nice actually, because that looks like it's embedded in there a bit. Well, they'll have to be able to walk through there, wouldn't they? That's good enough for this example, anyway. Yeah, anyway, as you can see, before I get too distracted, the cool thing is you can, you have really big buildings that can come in as well, rotate those around. So I've got this snapping at the moment. I mentioned in a previous video I would allow for like fine snapping. So if you hold down left control, you get much more fine control over how you snap things. So yeah, it's also quite nice. You place that down there. Let's shrink it a bit. Sometimes you might need to just depress something into into the terrain if you want to have it connect with the floor properly too as well. You can see here the hill is like that. So, but actually the Battletech shaders work quite well at seamlessly blending materials into the floor. So it actually looks quite nice. So, but there you go. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can, I won't bother rebuilding the map metadata. But you can now grab anything and throw them in here. So for instance, if you wanted to have another bridge, you could have, say you want it over this area here, you could right click that, put it down there. That's kind of at the edge of the map, but for this purpose doesn't really matter. Dump it in here. Imagine you want to give this facility some walls. So we got these walls here. So just put these down here, give it a rotate. I'm thinking about adding snapping into it. So right now, if you wanted to say line these walls up, you would need to manually try to like align it together, and it works. It's just a little fiddly. So like for instance, just an example, if I wanted to try to line these up correctly, I would have to maybe get a bit of fine control there. There we go. So I mean that's not too bad. Pretty good. So you can do it without too much trouble, but I'll probably add a feature where you press like the letter V, and that's vertex snapping, and then you can connect maybe this edge of this wall to the edge of this model here. So it's kind of a perfect snap, which would be nice, really. So let's shrink this in there a bit. So there we go. It's kind of a wall because of how the terrain goes down there. You might even want to stack two walls on top of each other. So yeah, for that you can either raise it up manually or you can rebuild the map metadata and then get the height done for you. But yeah, I mean this works really well now. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to probably provide ability to turn off all the default buildings and structures in a map, because you may not want other ones around, and you might want to have a complete fresh slate to work on. You might notice that this model when it snapped, it kind of only snapped halfway, and this is because this model's pivot point is actually at the center of the model, of the mesh, should I say. So when people are building or converting models to work for this, they should, I guess, ideally make the pivot point at the bottom of the mesh. I actually have some tools that I'll probably be working into the editor to dynamically move the pivot point around. So I already have one to dynamically center it if need be. I'm going to probably get one to center bottom it as well, and then it's just not an option in the definition file. So that would make it a bit easier then to work with, really. Try and see if I can, I don't know, I mean you might get some Z clipping doing this, but that's where the models start flashing if you have like overlaying objects on top of each other. I mean you could do that. That looks actually pretty nice. Kind of brings up the height roughly even there. So there you go. I mean this is a really basic example. Let's get rid of this bridge. Yeah, so there you go. You have your makeshift base, which before it was just an empty patch. So I haven't got the saving working yet, and when you click on these on the left here, I want the inspector to show up some basic information. Right now the words here are just a key of the building or the structure. I don't want to have the key as well, but you also have a human-friendly name that the modder can set, and it will show up here. I'm also considering adding groups to buildings and structures, because groups exist for destructibles. So you can, if I combine it here, you can combine two or as many things as you want together, so they move together. Like, so if I just separate this out together there. So for instance, you built like a little village destructible or a group of destructibles that your mech can walk over and instantly destroy, then you can keep it together if you decide you want to move it somewhere else in the map. Buildings and structures don't have that yet. I didn't think it was going to be needed. And it's still not really needed, I think. But one thought was, if modders decide they want to, imagine they create this little base here and they want to share it with someone else, you'll be able to kind of export a group and then allow another modder to import it, and then they can just add it anywhere they want then with kind of a template system, which I have already added for chunks up here. So yeah, another one was I made this example where I made this big building made out of walls, basically. You just kept stacking walls together and kind of making it a huge building, and had two of these bunkers connected into it like this, and it made it quite a cool makeshift, large bunker, huge bunker. The problem was it dumped all those structures and buildings just on this top level here, and I was just thinking when the map gets big with lots of structures, this will just be a long list and it would be very hard to manage. So I might be going the way of every structure and building needs a group, even if there's just one object in it, because chances are you might want a lot of structures to stay together, basically. So, like I said, this complex here, you might want to move together or something. So, but yeah, there we go. So next job is to get this inspector panel to appear, and then saving. So when you save it, get all these kind of props, all that prop data to be saved out. It should actually mostly work already. I might only need a few lines of code for that. So yeah, and then that should be the first version of props in the designer done. So I just want to say thanks to all my Patreons who are supporting development of my modding tools. If anyone would like to support me, feel free to visit my Patreon page, which is in the video description. And yeah, until the next time, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.